Commissioner Zuber, would you call the roll, please?
Yeah, are there any attendees that need to be bumped up? I can't, I see there are 5 attendees, but I can't look at who they are before I call the roll. Sorry, I've got a guest here.
Yeah, I don't see any,
Okay.
see Commissioner Acharya. Commissioner Eggenberger had previously noted that she will not be able to attend. Commissioner Weber may be attending late. And Commissioner Singh, I don't see in the audience named. So if there's a commissioner in the audience, they could perhaps raise their hand and we can have them as a panelist. Otherwise, we can proceed with 5.
Okay, so I will call the roll. Commissioner Acharya is absent. Commissioner Eggenberger is absent with notice. Commissioner Engel,
Greg Engel, Canton, Michigan, Wayne County, Michigan.
Commissioner Foster,
I'm here from Canton Township, Wayne County, Michigan.
excellent. Commissioner Okan,
I am here, Canton Township, Wayne County.
Commissioner Singh is apparently absent. Commissioner Weber is coming a little later, and Commissioner Zuber is here, Wayne County, Canton, Michigan, and Chairman Green.
Present, Wayne County, Canton Township, Michigan. All right, and of course we have our community planners, Patrick Sloan and Eric Perdonic. Oh, sorry about that, Eric. Perdonic, is that right? Perdonic. Okay. Welcome everybody, and welcome to those who are in the audience to tonight's procession. We are going to have, I should say, proceedings. We are going to have 2 items tonight on the agenda. One is a public hearing and one is a site plan review. Before we get to that, though, we have minutes from 2 previous meetings that we have to approve by vote. Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve March 1's minutes?
So moved.
So moved.
Minutes. All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Okan. We have support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Zuber. Any further discussion? Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes. All right. And we have meeting minutes from March 8th.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from March 8th.
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Engel. Whenever you're ready, Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that, please?
Thank you. I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, no.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes. Wonderful. Okay, so I have to stop with that last comment, Commissioner Zuber. So you obviously love cats,
I hate them.
but you are allergic to them. Why are you torturing yourself?
I love them.
All right, enough said on that. All right, let's get to our agenda. We have a public hearing ahead of us, and that public hearing has to deal with. We're considering an amendment to Appendix A, zoning of the Code of Ordinances, to include Section 602 about non-temporary and temporary or seasonal outdoor dining accessory to a restaurant. Eric, can you give us more detail on that?
Sure. So the draft ordinance before you tonight that was scheduled for public hearing the last meeting is basically a collection of best practices drawn from several different Michigan communities regulating both non-temporary and temporary or seasonal outdoor dining accessory to a restaurant. It basically addresses 3 instances in which outdoor dining is usually proposed, and has proportionate standards of review for each of those 3 instances. Basically, where outdoor dining is to be part of a new development, where it's to be added to an existing development, and then where it's to be done on a temporary or seasonal basis. With the expiration just a few days ago, actually, I think it was March 31st, of the temporary business support provision that had been passed by the township board, that was temporarily permitting outdoor dining with some pretty general standards in light of the pandemic. The township doesn't currently have any outdoor dining standards that are specific and long-term in place. And really with that, that's about all I had by way of introduction. I'd be glad to answer any questions anyone has.
All right, this is a public hearing, so why don't we go ahead and open that up?
Move to open the public hearing.
Support.
All right, we've got a motion to open the public hearing by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Engel. Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes. Okay, it's hereby open. Patrick, do we have anyone with their hand up in the audience?
I do not see anybody in the audience with their hand up. I see 5 attendees in the audience. One of which
Okay,
is
here's-
familiar to for an application later on the agenda, but I don't see anybody with their
Okay.
hand raised.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll play it by ear. You have access to, if they do, we'll start our conversation and see, you know, if anyone raises their hands. All right, I'm going to start with Commissioner Engel. And do you have any questions or concerns or anything to help understand all of this?
No, I think it's a good idea and I support the proposal.
All right, and Commissioner Zuber? Uh-oh, Don, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you.
Yep.
I have he's an old cat and he's making a lot of
Yeah.
noise. So I think it's a great idea also, and I support outdoor dining in general. So I think it's a great idea to have as much outdoor dining in Canton as possible. So it's good to formalize that.
Okay, Commissioner Okan?
I don't have any concerns at all. Thank you.
Commissioner Foster?
No concerns. I'm happy we're doing this.
Okay, the only thing that I have on this is just, I just need the further understanding. I, just like Commissioner Zuber and others, I hate that this had to be forced like this so that we actually take a look at it, because I always felt that the restaurant should have been able to have outdoor dining and so on and so forth. But now that we are into it, I want to understand the details of this. Okay, so we have what is known as temporary or seasonal, correct, Eric? And then now we're talking non-temporary. Okay, so that would mean that an establishment can come in and actually just plan on having the outdoor venue, correct? So
Right.
so we'll have some options. Now the seasonal ones or the temporary ones, would they have to come to us each season or each time they want to do this?
For the temporary, we'd actually be creating a new class of permit, basically a temporary outdoor dining permit. And that
Okay.
would be reviewed administratively. Of the different instances here, it would be the lowest standard of review. Basically,
Okay, I thought, okay,
it would basically go through the DRC like any application does before it gets to the Planning Commission, but would be
Oh,
approved administratively after the DRC review.
okay. I thought it would be handled kind of like how we do with Home Depot and the fireworks and, you know, stuff like that, where they come to us seasonally for those kind of things. You're saying that administratively, you guys, for example, will just go ahead and grant them permitting, and it'll be for, you know, the whole warm weather season?
It would be an annual fee, so they would have to submit the full plan and it would be approved annually. And yes, that would all happen within the planning and building department essentially. You would have both
Okay.
the planning and building department sign off on it at the end. And during the DRC review process, it's being seen by fire, engineering, all of the different relevant agencies are getting a look at it at that point. And I think we actually stipulated here that it would be, the permit, I think, would be valid seasonally for a specific duration. Yeah, actually between March 1st and November 30th.
Okay. And by the way, Commissioner Foster, I do commend the board for having jumped on this, earlier on to allow our businesses to have something that they could work on. But it does bring to mind a couple concerns, and I guess they're going to be answered as it, as a app applied, right? Okay, as the applications come in, because you've got the fire considerations, fire department considerations, but I'm thinking of some other ones too. For example, most of our establishments will have to use available parking spots in order to make this work for them. So what do we do in terms of, let's say that they've maxed out based upon, our other coding, but now they're going to use up, 4, 5, 6 spots for outdoor seating. Do we give them special provisions in terms of their parking needs if that comes about, or are they just going to have to give that up and there's no parking in the street or whatever, that kind of thing? How's that going to be handled? Is that just going to be a police activity on an as needed basis?
The way it's written now, it's something where unless you have 20 seats out there, it's been kind of found in other communities that you don't see as big of an impact on parking. That 20 number is kind of the threshold where at that point you would actually have to meet the underlying parking standards of that zoning district. So basically when you hit that 20 number, though you would have to comply with the ordinance completely, but under 20, we're not really looking at it as
That's a big deal.
a reduction of parking significant enough that we would have to have them meet the ordinance to the T.
Okay. Okay, so this is not something that should this go through the process and get approved and everything. This is not something that the commission is going to have to deal with in the future. This will be out of our hands in terms of approvals.
Basically, what you would be seeing in the future would be when a application comes in for outdoor seating as part of a new development.
Okay, so that would be the non-temporary
Yes.
establishment.
The-
Okay,
the
gotcha.
permanent establishments. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you carefully, stay away from the word permanent. You're saying non-temporary.
Yeah, that was
'Cause
actually intentional. We don't want to
Yeah.
refer to anything as permanent here.
Exactly. I hear what you're saying there. Okay. Well, I think it's a great idea. I really do. I think that it was a long time coming, and again, it's too bad that it had to be a forced situation. But now that it's here and we're adjusting to it, hey, let's go for it, and let's let our establishments, take advantage, of the situation.
Eric, what does the permit fee cost to the establishment?
We haven't yet developed an amendment to the fee schedule for it, but if it were part of site plan review, it would basically be charged the existing fee for, if it was being added to an existing establishment. I believe the fee is $750. But if it were part of the site plan review, they'd be paying the full site plan review for that submittal anyway.
So if they want to add seating and they come to you, then you charge them $750 to review the plan?
Correct. Yep, $750 in that instance.
Eric, in looking at the verbiage on outdoor dining and accessory to a restaurant, under A1, it talks about locations. Do you have that paragraph in front of you?
Yep, I'm looking at it now.
All right. I'm concerned about verbiage, and maybe it's just I don't understand it. It says, and I quote, only within the Cherry Hill Village overlay district. And then at the very last sentence, it says within the Cherry Hill Village overlay district. So I'm not understanding why that's even a mentioned item in that category? I mean, because aren't we talking about all of Canton?
Because the only area within Canton where we would foresee any demand really for outdoor dining within a public right of way would be in the Cherry Hill Village area, where, you know, the land use pattern there is conducive to that. So we're basically specifically calling out that zoning district there to allow for that use in the right of way. Understanding that the buildings are closer to the road and there may be some demand to put tables out in that area. But we don't really foresee any other area of the township where it would really be done in the right of way.
Okay, now I understand. Okay. All right. Oh, okay, so then the other one, food and beverage service. Does that include alcohol? Is that going to be a provision that's established within the community?
It does include alcohol, consistent with state regulations. They do have to have a state permit that's particularly for providing alcohol service outdoors, essentially. So they'd have to meet that state regulatory requirement. And then also within this ordinance, we have kind of a collection of basically almost all of the communities we looked at. We kind of took all of those pieces and put them in here when it comes to, you know, them basically having to prepare the drinks inside, so it doesn't really become an outdoor bar. You know, some limitations there that they have to be kind of supervising that area. It has to be within view of the main dining area, that sort of thing. You know, understanding that alcohol will be consumed there.
Okay. All right. Talk amongst yourselves. I need to make a run downstairs to get my plug because I just got a warning that my computer's down at 10%. So I will be right back.
While we're waiting on the chair with the fee schedule, this is something that administratively the board can set a specific fee for the outdoor dining. For, as Eric said, for something that's permanent with a restaurant or non-temporary, we would just have it as a regular site plan amendment that would come to the planning commission according to an amendment on a fee schedule. For anything on a temporary basis, that would either default to something else on the fee schedule, but more likely the board may set a separate fee for that because it's a little bit more unique than any other use on the fee schedule. So that'll probably be determined separately.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you for your indulgence, people.
Sure.
I didn't think I was going to need my plug tonight. I figured the meeting was going to be. I figured the meeting would be short enough.
Mr. Chairman, I move to set the public hearing for the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance to include section 6.02 parentheses AA, setting forth comprehensive standards applicable to non-temporary and temporary or seasonal outdoor dining accessory to a restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry. The language here might have been left over from last month, because last month we did set the public hearing. So this would just be a recommendation to the board. So if it pleases the planning commission, would be a recommendation to approve the amendment.
Okay, so what we have to do then is just say, okay, send this to the board. I mean, the model motion says to set the public hearing, so it's already been set. So basically, it's just proceed. I mean, do we even need to vote on anything?
Yeah, it would be a motion to recommend approval of the proposed amendment. So instead of I move to set the public hearing, it would be I move to recommend approval of the proposed amendment.
Can I modify my motion to move to recommend approval of the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance, ...
Or
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Foster. Any further discussion? Yes, go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, before we entertain a motion on the item, did we close the public hearing formally?
Oh,
We did not.
thank
We did
you.
not, actually. Yep, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing.
support.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Foster to close the public hearing. Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes. Okay, now, since we put it aside, we have a motion to accept the amendment and send it to the board by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Foster. Is that correct? Commissioner Zuber, well, first of all, and Patrick, there was no further interest in commenting from the audience? I mean, I know we close the public hearing, but I don't want to leave people out if they're.
Correct.
We're good?
There was no one in the audience with their hand raised.
All right, we're good. All right, Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes. All right, so move that on to the board. Let's proceed to our second agenda item, the Havens Orthodontics, where we're considering a site plan approval for the parcels listed property, which is located east of Canton Center Road between Joy Road and Sheldon Road, or across from the Canton Educational Park. Patrick, could you give us more detail?
Sure. The applicant in this case proposes to construct a mixed-use building of office and commercial uses at the southeast corner of Joy and Canton Center Road. This plan previously received plan development approval last year, and it was formally approved by the Township Board of Trustees on November 24th of 2020. So since the plan development was approved, the applicant has been working on preparing a site plan. And so the site plan is before you this evening. So it may look familiar for those planning commissioners that were with us in 2020. The proposed site plan is similar to the plan development plan that was also reviewed by the Planning Commission in 2020. The plan development approved the uses permitted in the O1 office district and the C1 village shopping district, as well as private membership organizations and product sales, repair, and instruction. There are two entrances proposed to the site. One entrance is on Joy Road, the other entrance is on Canton Center Road, and both entrances are designed to be as far away from the intersection as possible. The site is about 2 1/4 acres. And the building will be a 2-story building, primarily with office on the second floor and commercial and retail on the ground floor. There were several modifications that were approved at the plan development stage. The minimum front yard setback is set at 30 feet. The maximum building height was set at 35 feet. There's a maximum canopy projection into the front setback of 3.5 feet permitted. The maximum or the minimum number of parking spaces was set at 102. And the requirement for foundation landscaping was waived during plan development review, primarily because of emergency vehicle access on the east side of the building. But nevertheless, the site plan is proposed to comply with the foundation planting requirements, just not located within that foundation landscaping area. At plan development review, there was a traffic impact study that was done, or a traffic impact assessment that was done. And there were a number of recommendations that were incorporated into the PD agreement. First is that there is restricted ingress and egress left turns at the proposed driveway on Canton Center Road during the peak school periods with the signage. And that signage is shown on the site plans and will be incorporated into the plan if it's approved. Another improvement was the proposed restriping of the existing center left turn lane on Joy Road and extending it to the east of the project site, as illustrated in the traffic impact analysis. There are also some pedestrian access improvements. In addition to the required sidewalks along the parcel frontages of Joy Road and Canton Center Road, the plans propose a crosswalk across Joy Road. And additionally, there are interior sidewalks that connect the building to the sidewalks along the roads. The sidewalk across Joy Road connects to the north side of the road in Plymouth Township, and there's a connecting crosswalk that's illustrated on the site plan. With the landscape plans, there are only a few minor modifications that are required, but the plans are designed to comply with the zoning ordinance for the required landscaping elements. There are just, I think, 3 areas of the site plan that need to be modified to comply with the zoning ordinance. The first is that the lighting fixtures on the wall-mounted fixtures must be downward-facing lights only. They were a little unclear on the plans themselves, so that has to be clarified that those lights be downward-facing only. The second is that for the signage, there is only 1 ground sign allowed per site according to the zoning ordinance, and the site plan illustrates 2 ground signs. There's also some items in there with respect to the minimum legibility and the minimum base requirement on a sign. The signs are reviewed administratively by the building division, so I won't get into too many details about some of the items in the signage that doesn't comply, but there are some things that have to be revised to comply with the sign ordinance itself. And then the third element where the plans would have to be revised is the proposed fence along the detention pond. Part of that is located in the front yard setback area, and the fence ordinance doesn't permit fences in a front yard setback area for these types of districts. And the fence ordinance is separate from the zoning ordinance, so it's not something that can be included in a PD agreement to be modified because it's a separate ordinance. It's a non-zoning ordinance that regulates fences, and that's also administered by the Building and Improvement or Building and Inspections Division. So if the fence is retained in its current site, the applicant can obtain a modification from the Zoning Board of Appeals in accordance with the fence ordinance if they so choose. Our recommendation on the fence, if it were to be modified to be allowed in the front yard setback, is that the material for the fence be decorative instead of the proposed vinyl coated chain link material, especially for that portion that's within that front yard setback and very visible from Canton Center Road. So our recommendation is approval of the Havens Orthodontics site plan, including a modification to the building material requirement and a waiver of the front yard berm requirement, subject to the fence around the detention basin being a decorative style, and required revisions to the landscape plans, lighting plans, and signage to comply with the zoning ordinance. The only other comment that we have, going back to some of the comments in our letter, is the architecture of the building. During the plan development review, the material percentages were not included on the building because they weren't that precisely calculated at that time. What is proposed is a combination of brick and stone that is 45% of the building, with the remainder being windows and other materials. And the zoning ordinance requires at least 50% brick. The Planning Commission can modify the 50% standard in accordance with section 26.06 footnote H of the zoning ordinance if the design achieves a specific architectural objective as demonstrated by the project sponsor in meeting the overall development objectives of the community. In this case, when the facade materials are calculated, it's done, all portions of the building, including any openings for doors and windows, are included in that denominator. So with 50% being required for brick, that's a lot of brick on a building, and that excludes any areas for glass. This particular building has a lot of glass that's proposed, so that increases the percentage of glass and decreases the percentage of everything else. So if it's something that is recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, we would also recommend approval of that modification as well. So that concludes our comments, and we'll be happy to take any questions. In the meantime, I'll put the plans up here on the screen so that we can see them.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Is the project sponsor in attendance?
Yes.
Would he like to say anything? I mean, he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to, but would, if he'd like to, I'd like to hear him.
Okay. I don't see anybody with their hand raised, but Jared Keim is the engineer on the project for the applicant. And oh,
Okay.
now Jared's got his hand raised. So Jared, I've allowed you to talk. So if you want to unmute yourself, you can introduce the project.
Thanks, Patrick. You did a great job touching on everything here. Just wanted to touch on a few things here. As far as the fencing goes, we've talked about this. The need for the fencing there is a safety need around the detention pond and the specific location that we have it there. So that is something that we will proceed forward with the ZBA for modification on that. And we can certainly look to increase the decorative nature of the fence along the public facades being out in the right of way and along the parking area. So we can certainly make that upgrade. As far as the ground signs, I know Patrick, you and I talked about it. We would like to proceed with the request for the second ground sign. Obviously, there's some elements to the signs that need to be tweaked as far as enlarging some of the text sizes and the base for that. And we talked about I guess the route to get that modification to the PDD to allow for that. So we will proceed with that. In regards to the building material percentages, we also have the project architect, Adam Pugh, on as well here, who can speak more to this if there's further questions. But essentially, we're looking at a building that is basically top to bottom brick with a few architectural details that you touched on. The large amount of glass, the high windows there that are really sought after these days in the retail aspect are really what is kind of skewing those percentage numbers. And we feel that the architectural design of the building being basically top to bottom brick there is meeting the high quality design intent of the township. And so we're requesting a approval of that waiver for the building material percentages.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So what you're saying there is that if this were a different type of building and you had brick on the lower half without all of those windows, you'd be meeting the 50% requirement.
Exactly. Yeah. The large, retail windows that we have, the large areas of glass really subtract from that overall percentage. And generally, when you look at the material percentage requirements, it's there to make sure that there's enough masonry on the building that you have the look that the township desires there with high quality materials that will last. And that is what you have with this building. And we've far exceeded the expectations and the intent of the ordinance as far as the building material quality for the project.
Okay, I'm perfectly satisfied with that explanation. Are you really going to have a slide in your lobby?
We are really going to have a slide in the lobby.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, it's
Okay.
with it with the main tenant being Havens Orthodontics here, we want it to be a very kid-friendly environment. We don't want to scare them off. We want it to be a fun place to come and visit. And they're going to look at some interior features and applications to see what they can do to really make that lobby area a fun location for kids to come and play as they're waiting for their orthodontic service or their dental service, or the younger brother or sister that's gotta wait with mom who's gone downstairs to get the coffee. So
Okay, if you'll hang tight there, I'm going to ask our other commissioners if they have any questions or concerns. Commissioner Zuber.
I do have a question on the, there's a couple of sheets in here from Pink and Wooderson.
Mhm.
And I assume they're helping with material selections. And specifically on sheet, that sheet right there that is at the bottom, if you could scroll up a tiny bit.
yes, the materials. Patrick, if you want to bring Adam off of mute, he can speak to some of the material selections here.
Yeah, the specific question that I have is about the color, the Sherwin-Williams tricorn black color there. Because the renderings, I don't see black on those but the way I'm reading that is that the trim around the windows and the coping at the top would be
Right.
that black, and the renderings do not, they look more like it's an anodized bronze color.
Correct. So the tricorn black is not a true dark black. It's
Okay,
a black with a brown kind of rust tone that's built into it.
okay,
And the renderings are showing like a nice pretty sunset as well. So you're getting a little bit of warmth from the sun that's happening there. So
Mhm.
it's not a jet black color. It's intended to be knocked down a little bit, charcoal warm brown color.
okay. That helps, because it's just, I'm trying to, that black on your board there looks a little bit blacker black than what you're describing, so that helps.
Yeah, that's not the intent. But black
Okay.
on white is a little too stark and a little too modernist. So we're trying to knock it back a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like the look of the building. You could probably achieve your goal or our percentage requirements for brick coverage if you eliminated the Nichi-hop planks, but I kind of like that look around the windows. It gives it a little bit of a softening.
Right.
So
Yeah, trying to give it a little bit of a nod to the retail also with that wood, give it a little more warmth, rather than, we don't just want it to be completely stark white building either. So that adds a little warmth. And
Yeah.
we talked about this too. It's like the game that we'd end up having to play is reducing the size of the window a little bit here to get it that extra 5%. And we just thought that, wow, the proportions really look okay right now. So we'd like to see what the commission had to say about it.
No, I think it looks really nice. I think it'll be a nice addition to that corner. I'm still not crazy about it being 35 feet high instead of the requirement, but I get this is a planned unit development, so that's a little different. And I think it looks very nice. So good job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Green, you're on mute if you were talking.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Foster?
I do not have any questions, but I do really like the style of the building. I think it looks great, and I think it would be great on that corner right there.
All right, Commissioner Okan?
No issues. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Engel?
All set, thank you.
All right, well, I think we're probably all in agreement. This is a nice addition to Canton, particularly on that corner. I like the look of the building. I like it has a friendly aspect to a business building, and I think that's hard to achieve. Do I hear a motion coming from anyone?
Sure. I move to recommend approval of the Havens Orthodontics site plan on tax parcels as noted, including a modification to the building material requirement and waiver of the front yard berm requirement, subject to the fence around the detention basin being a decorative style and required revisions to the landscape plans, lighting plans, and signage to comply with the zoning ordinance.
Support.
All right, Commissioner Zuber has presented a motion and Commissioner Engel has supported it. Any further discussion? Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on this, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes, and this proceeds to the board, right, Patrick?
Yes, that's correct.
And they will go through this process. With what kind of timing do they look forward to on that?
We anticipate this being on the Board of Trustees April 23rd agenda. That'll
Okay.
give us time to prepare the minutes excerpt and get that prepared for the board's consideration of the site plan.
Okay, awesome. All right. Good luck with that, gentlemen. And we have some more work to send to staff. We have Panda Express Restaurant. We've got Canton Crossings Car Wash, and we have Canton Crossings Drive-Through Restaurants. I'll work for the staff to prepare for us. Do I hear a motion to send those things to staff?
So moved.
Support?
Support. Oh, sorry.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Foster. Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that to send to staff?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yes. And we also have a public hearing to set for May 3rd, Shannon Frankie Daycare. Do I hear a motion to set that public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Zuber and support by Commissioner Foster. Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
Yeah, it's a yes. Or aye. Okay, anything else from the commission to talk about? Anything, Patrick, that you want to, any additional items you want to discuss with us? Eric, anything?
I do have a question now that the township building is open, I guess by appointment. Again, is there any thought to when we'll go back to meeting in person? Not that I don't love coming to you from my old home office, but
He wants to
Good
get away
question.
from the cats.
Good question. I don't have anything new on that in terms of changing the meeting format, but
Okay.
we'll look into that and see if there's any kind of a timetable in terms of when we are able to return in person. And also, just today, the Township Administration Building reopened, and we reopened to the public. So I don't know if the website has been updated, but we've been reopened to the public so people are able to come in and walk in and transact business. We've got plexiglass shields at our front counter to keep both the distance and the separation.
Well, I'm glad Don asked that question because I was wondering if when the time came, if we were going to go in a backward phasing like we did and go back to the Village Theater before we actually go back to the boardroom at some point in time.
I can tell you that, so the state of Michigan is leaving it up to the county health departments to determine whether or not public bodies will be meeting in person. And so Wayne County Health Department has left it up to the individual communities. And so on the township board, we are still meeting through Zoom till I think it's May when when the county health department ends their order.
Okay, anything else from anyone? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
All right. Commissioner Zuber, would you call the vote on that, please?
Sure. Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Okan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuber, yes, and Chairman Green.
That's a yes. All right, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
You too.